Pope Francis will be, God willing, 85 years old next month and enjoys, everything seems to indicate it, good health. However, age, above all, makes the rumors of how long he will last the pontificate do not cease. Rumors sometimes encouraged by himself, as when he recently said that he would like to be succeeded by John the 24th, successor of John 23rd. Naturally, with a pope who has already appointed so many cardinals that make up a large majority within the college of cardinals, everything seems to indicate that Pope Francis's successor will indeed be along the lines of the current pontiff. However, this week a book by George Weigel, the main biographer of Saint John Paul II, was published in Italy with a delay because it has been almost a year since it was published in English. The book is entitled The Next Pope, and the fact that it has been published in Italian, has given much to talk about. In that book, Weigel ventures a hypothesis. I'm not saying that he makes a prophecy, he ventures a hypothesis, and he says that in spite of the ample majority of cardinals appointed by Pope Francis, the situation of the Church is so serious and with such a deep crisis that it is probable that the successor of the Pope will be someone not like St. John Paul II, but more conservative. He would call him John Paul III, and he is of the opinion that it is easier for Francis's successor to be a John Paul III than a John 24th. Of course, this is Weigel's opinion. However, things have happened this week that seem to encourage this thesis. For example, Cardinal Casper, German, author of an important Christology, a man very close to the current pontiff, to the point that Pope Francis spoke highly of him almost immediately upon his arrival to the pontificate. This week he has referred to the synod of his country, the German synod, and he has said that it is a farce, that it is not a synod nor a synodal path, but that it is truly a path that leads to the ruin of the Church, a farce. And he went further, saying that the bishops seem more and more like the leaders of a multinational company who can be put in or removed according to the whim of those in charge instead of being the successors of the apostles. Such a harsh criticism of the synodal path, a farce, he says, such a harsh criticism would have been accepted, logical, in the mouth of Cardinal Mueller, in the mouth of Cardinal Pale, in the mouth of Cardinal Sarah, but it is Casper, the Pope's friend, one of his main advisors, who has said this. John the 24th, if he existed, if he were to become the next pontiff, we don't know which cardinal he would be, but if he were to be with this idea of convening a Third Vatican Council, etc., would he have the strength to bring this crazy German synod to heel? Another event this week. Bishop Sanchez Sorondo, who is Chancellor of the Pontifical Academy of Sciences and Social Sciences, a man who has been much criticized, a liberal person within the Vatican, a man who has been much criticized for some appointments he has made for members of that academy, some of them notorious pro-abortionists. This week, he said that the main problem we have is not the virus of COVID. The main problem we have, he said, is the silent apostasy, the abandonment of God in contemporary society. And as in the case of Casper, this phrase could surely have been said by many cardinals and conservative bishops, but It's been said by Sanchez Sorondo, no less than him, a person very close to Pope Francis, a person who is, I repeat, of the liberal group within those who are part of the organization chart. Casper Sanchez Sorondo giving clearly conservative statements. Not only that, the prestigious Austin Institute of the United States has made not a survey but a serious sociological study among Catholic priests in the United States. It is true that it is limited to the United States, but the data are very significant. It has come to the conclusion that 80% of the priests who are under 40 years old, that 80% are against the reforms of Pope Francis. And that on the other hand, 80% of the priests who are over 70 years old are in favor of these reforms. That is to say, the reforms of Pope Francis are widely rejected by young priests and only widely accepted by retired priests over 70. Naturally, between the 20 and 80, there is a gradient that decreases. 20 and 80, there is a gradient that decreases support for Pope Francis as the age of the priest increases, but from 40 and below, and who have been ordained for 10 to 15 years, among these priests, the vast majority rejects such reforms. This is quite meaningful. The Austin Institute report also says other things, many of them interesting, but there is one that seems especially important to me. Within that group of priests over 70, it turns out that 21% confess to being homosexual themselves and say that they consider that the exercise of homosexuality is not a sin in certain circumstances. This does not mean, far from it, that those who support the reforms of Pope Francis are homosexuals, far from it, but that among those who support it, there are 21% of those over 70 who think this. This is a fact, at least a fact offered by this sociological study house. On the other hand, among the young priests, among those who reject the reform of Pope Francis, among those who say they do not like it and who are 80%, there are only 5% who consider themselves homosexuals, and none of them consider that homosexual acts are justified in any case. How will the next Pope be like? The Holy Spirit knows. We do not know. Reason tells us that with a very large majority of cardinals appointed by the present pontiff, the successor will be in the line of the present pontiff, a John the 24th. That is what reason tells us. If Wigel is wrong, and so it would happen that a John Paul III would not come, but a John the 24th, what would possibly happen is that the Pope would be more and more distant from his priests, and also more and more distant from an important part of his faithful. But it is the Holy Spirit who knows. What we have to do is to pray. We must not forget one thing. We do what we must do. And men think, or we think that by moving in one direction or another, we will achieve this or another result. Reality often goes another way. The fact that this is being talked about, that these things are happening, indicates that there is fear in the Vatican, a certain fear, at least a certain fear that the very serious crisis that is shaking the Church will make the cardinal electors, even some who have been and are very close to Pope Francis, elect a candidate a little more conservative in order to be able to face this serious crisis. But I repeat, These are all human approaches of Weigel and of others. It is the Holy Spirit who knows. It is He who knows what will be the future, and what we have to do is to pray that it is always and in any case the will of God that will be fulfilled. See you next week, God willing.